guys have let their masculinity slip away. And God damn it, that's the problem. We need men, real ass masculinity. Stand the fuck up, boys. Have a fucking uncomfortable conversation. Take a L. Have an uncomfortable conversation, because not only will you feel more fulfilled, but damn it, the girls that I come in contact with, and I've talked about this on the show multiple times in maybe in different ways, but like, let me just say, I am refreshing to girls because they're not used to it. It's like
right.
Like a shark looking for. Let me not go into the analogy. Let me just say, I'm refreshing because I'm actually willing to kind of push them a little bit, to not be just like this damn squid, to not be like a little. My ex one time made this list of what type of male she's most attracted to. At the top was someone who was capable of murder, who treats her like a princess. In the middle was a guy who was capable of some harm, but also kind of an asshole. And at the bottom was guys who were not capable of any harm and were super nice. And she put in parentheses, like a wet noodle. Stop acting like wet noodles, boys. Okay? Someone needs to hold the spear. If me and you, if not me and you, if me and a girl are walking through you guys are big on, you leftists are big on evolution, right? Say we're thousands of years ago and we're walking through the forest. You're holding the baby. Somebody needs to hold the baby and kiss the boo-boos, and someone needs to stab the wolf, okay? I'm a fucking wolf stabber, all right? And you can't just, both of us just go, I don't know, girl who's holding the baby. What do you think? You know what I mean? In spite of what Kill Bill has to say, in spite of Miss Captain Marvel or whatever the fuck, you're not strong enough as me. You're not as strong as me. We have different strengths. And guys need to stand the fuck up and be the men that we are.
Right. I think that if I'm to be completely honest, I was that wet noodle for many years.
Right.
And I'm not trying to use this as an excuse, but just being forthcoming. I grew up without my father, and I wasn't surrounded by a lot of men. I had my mother and my sister. And so the expectation that we have all these Black boys who are growing up with these Black mothers who are not surrounded by fathers that maybe their fathers are weak, or maybe their fathers don't care. They're not around. And so they're losing out on that key component of masculinity. And what's happened on top of that, they make it into adulthood and they're told to pander, pamper, treat her like a queen, do all these things for women. But what I had to learn was, because I did all those things. I was the guy who would take you out of the date, and I would buy you flowers, and I would go and I'd treat you great. And you know what happened? They never called me back. And every time. And I'm like, what's wrong? I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. And it wasn't until I realized, and I started actually researching and understanding masculinity and understanding what it takes. And a lot of it is just confidence. And when you experience anxiety and depression and you doubt yourself, you're not confident in yourself. And you have to be willing to say, not like, pick me up, like I'm great, I'm wonderful. No, because when you're confident, you don't need to do any of that. You just say, I am what I am, and I'm principled in how I feel. And you either respect it or leave. And once I started taking that stand, my life started changing. My life started changing for the better. And now I'm engaged. And she tells me all the time, she's like, God, you're so masculine. And I'm like, wow, this is the first time I'm hearing this, in my life, because I was that wet noodle. But I had to learn that I needed to be principled. I needed to stand up for myself, even against her. There's been times that she might want me to do something and I say no. And we joke around and she says, you always tell me no. And I'm like, I'm going to keep telling you no, and but she respects that. And she respects that. And it's not about know your place. It's not any of that bullshit. It's that she respects my position and I respect her position. I will never force her to do something that she doesn't want to do. Right. And it's that level of respect and this level of maturity and that level of masculinity that is healthy between us, because she's feminine You know, she loves to cook and clean. She's very organized. And she's that feminine balance within my life that I've been missing in my relationships. And now I'm bringing my son who's into it, and they love each other. It's a nice, happy home. She can't wait to see him when he comes over. So all of these different things. And without that masculinity, I don't know if I would be in the position that I'm in. I don't know if I would have written this book. I don't know if I would have had the guts to sacrifice, to show myself, to show my vulnerabilities to the general public, to strangers who don't even know me, all because I might have been missing that masculinity. And there are so many young Black boys who are missing out on that. And they're being told that their other half isn't nearly as important, that you should thank their mother on Father's Day. All of this type of rhetoric that she can teach you how to be a man. And it's not sexist to say this. No one can teach me how to be a woman. That'd be offensive if I could say that to someone. So it should be offensive the other way around. And that masculinity is key. It's a key thing that's missing in this country. And you look at China, what is China doing? China's trying to teach their boys how to be more masculine because they understand the value in masculinity. And what we've been preaching is what I call like a caricature of masculinity. Masculinity has nothing to do with being hyper anything. Masculinity is balanced. It's controlled. If I'm threatened, I will fight. But if I don't need to fight, I will reason and I will get through it. I am the control factor in the situation. If she is panicking, it does me no good if I panic with her. I need to be the calming voice in the situation. And there's something that's more natural about when we do it as men than it is when women do it. And when I see them display masculinity, they look unhealthy, they look unhappy, and they ultimately don't want to do it. If you really sat down with them and they're vulnerable, they say, I'm tired of always feeling strong. I'm tired of being a strong Black woman. I'm tired of it. Yes, I know you are. So stop pretending. But it's that narrative that goes around.
Right.
And I think the return to the rebuilding of the family will ultimately rebuild masculinity within the Black family. And that's a key component, because if you're masculine, you don't need to go around running and selling drugs and shooting up people. That hyper aggressive minority that I was talking about, that disappears nearly, because what's the point of that? There's always going to be broken homes, but that level of aggression would start to disappear, because the value of family, the value of God, the value of the representation of God within the home, that's what the Father is. They call God the Father in the heaven. Well, we need to return to have that fatherly representation within the Black home. And if many of Black people call ourselves Christians, but we don't see the value of the Father, then what does that say about us being Christians? So, there's a lot of that I think is just extremely key, and masculinity is extremely important. Masculinity has, dare I say, saved my life, because I was going down the continual, perpetual failure of relationships, failure of depression, failure of all these different things. And finding that strength and masculinity really helped me. I'm not depressed anymore. I'm rarely nervous. I don't have anxiety anymore. This is the first time I'm doing an interview with you. You get a little bit of butterflies, but it's just a conversation. And so it's that level of confidence and that level of surety that I believe in myself, that I didn't believe in myself years ago, that needs to return within many, not just Black men. The book is about Black men, but or talking about Black men, but all men.